I'm always picking my teeth when I get Lyme. I should really be ashamed, but I'm not. Hello, Margie. Nice to see you. Welcome to Bedtime Stories with the Butterhag's Bedtime Stories. Hi, Catherine Jones. Nice to see you as well. Hi, Leah Edwards. Hello, Sugar Mama. Nice to see you. I hope you're feeling well. Nice to see you all. So good to see you. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to get here. I'm excited. It's been a pretty good day. The dogs tested negative for heartworms. Hi, Becky. Hi, Thomas. Hi, Casey fan. So good to see all of you. How is everyone doing today? I hope everyone is doing well. Trying not to belch. I think we're going to try to talk about bus conversion. When we last left off, I was talking about, oh, you're Gemini Bob. Hi, Bob. I hope you're feeling well as well. It's good to see you. When we last left off, I'm doing okay. It's been a pretty good day today. I mean, I really wish that I would accomplish more in my days. If I had a complaint, it would be that I don't seem to be able to get shit done, but yet I always feel like I had a busy day. I always feel like I had a busy day, but I don't ever get shit done. So I'm honestly, Hi, Pixo. Norma. Nice to see you, Pixo. I'm glad you're doing well, Bob. So, you're off lockdown tomorrow. Oh, that's good. That's good. So that means that, are you clear tomorrow? Do you get a test again to make sure you're not still positive, or are you just done? I guess if you're not working, there's no reason for you to get a test. I guess if you're not working, there's no reason to get a test. I always feel like I'm looking around the text. If you guys wonder why I'm always leaning to the right when I talk, it's because the text is the text is in my way. And I know that you guys can't see the text in my way. Or maybe you can. But when it's in my way, I feel like I have to lean around it. I'm peeking over the text. See, there's a long one that's kind of, okay, now it's gone away so I can sit back. Because it's like trying to talk to somebody that you can't see. I don't know why I think I have to look around the fucking text. It's not like I could see you if I look around. Anyway, I need to stop finding myself so funny. I crack me up. So you want to hear about the school bus? Where we left off is I had got the bus home, and then my brother went back home. Hi, Ash. I forget you have to type. I can't hear. Were you talking to me, Ash? I hate that. I really hate that you guys have to type. That's why I don't go to lives, because I really don't like to have to type to talk. It's good to see you, Ash. I hope everything is going well for you. With your school bus and everything in life in general. Yeah, so where I left off was I got the bus home. As soon as I got it home, I put it in I lived in a townhouse. I rented a townhouse, a 3-story townhouse. I lived in this townhouse for 7 years. Actually, I had lived in this townhouse at that point for 6 years. Lived in the townhouse for 6 years. Never bothered anybody other than when my crazy daughter lived there and used to just like, oh my God, it was miserable. When she lived there, we were a loud family that screamed all the time. And it was mostly her. It was so fucking embarrassing. Anyway, I was a good tenant. And what I didn't know is that there were big parties. Like there were big parties with like heroin needles and all this other kind of stuff in the parking lot at the end of the street. And the street that I decided I was going to park my bus on had all kinds of other big, huge vehicles on it. There were big, huge ocean-faring boats. I mean, big ocean-faring boats that were on trailers parked there. There were semi trucks there. There were box trucks there. There were RVs there. I mean, along either side of this road for the entire 5 years that I lived in this townhouse, there were all of these utility vehicles parked along this road. So when I made the decision to buy the bus, I said, well, yeah, I can park it here. Why can't I park it here? People have been parking it here forever. Parking all this stuff here all these years. I've never parked anything here, so I can park it here. And when I got it to my house, there's a big parking lot at the end. Like my townhouse was an end unit, and there was a big field the size of a football field. Actually bigger than a football field, much bigger than a football field. And at the end of that football field, but only like 2 rows of townhouses away from me, was this big parking lot that was always empty, except like at night when kids and people would party over there. I didn't realize, I mean, I knew there was always something going on over there, but I didn't realize how bad it was over there, just that short distance from my house, until when I brought the bus home, I parked it in that parking lot to get it as close to my house as I could so that I could stretch water hoses from my townhouse to that parking lot, because I wanted to wash it and paint it the very first day I had it home. So we went and got it on a Friday. And that Saturday morning, I had to wash it and paint it, because in order for it to be legal in the state of Maryland, it cannot be driven on the roads yellow. So just driving it home was all I could do. So I needed it painted right away so that it would not be, anyway. So I parked it in that parking lot, and I had these guys that this man had done my yard work for years, taking care of my yard work at the townhouse for years. And I hired him and his friend to come over on that Saturday and help me paint. And my brother was there. And we painted the whole bus. And then I told them that they could have the scrap metal for the seats if they remove the seats for me. So they removed half the seats. And then they removed half the seats and left the other half in. And my brother, there's like a big radiator heater in the back of those buses. And so my brother took the heater hoses off and rerouted them for me. That is the only thing that my brother did for me for that whole thing. He sat in the bus under the fan with the generator running, because I bought a generator. He sat in the bus under the fan with the generator running, fucking around with shit the whole time while we were outside painting it. As it turns out, he was mad because I was paying them, and I hadn't told him I was going to pay him anything. Yeah, anyway, in the last story I told you, I'm not going to keep harping on that, but there was bad blood with my brother. Anyway, we got it completely painted in one day. It was really fucking hard. I mean, we just slopped that shit on there. Rust-Oleum. We half-ass washed it because the water hose really didn't reach. And the bus is so damn big. But thankfully, they were willing to get up on the roof. And so we got it all painted. And that was the first day I had it home. But then neighbors started stopping by while we were painting it. Neighbors started driving their cars in to say, we were driving by and just saw you doing this. What are you doing? Oh, I'm building a schoolie. Oh my God, really? We've seen these. Oh my God, they're so excited. So I start thinking, well, this might end up working out pretty good. The neighbors all seem pretty excited about my school bus. And so I start thinking, well, maybe I can just, I'll put fake cameras on there. because another neighbor stopped over. He was like a military police officer, and he stopped over. He lived in the neighborhood too, and he was like, I'm so glad you're doing this. He said, you know, there's a lot of crime in this parking lot. I said, no. He said, yeah, look around here. And I started looking around on the ground, and there it was covered. It was littered with heroin needles, used heroin needles, and heroin baggies, and used condoms, and liquor bottle, all kinds of stuff. And this was a really nice neighborhood. This was supposed to be a nice neighborhood. This was expensive townhouse. I mean, I was paying $1,700 a month for this townhouse, and there's all these heroin needles in the trash all over the ground. And I'm thinking, there's all these kids that play in this field, and look at all this filth here. Why doesn't anybody ever clean this shit up? So I get the idea. I'm going to leave the bus there as a deterrent. And I'm going to put, this guy and I are talking, and we came up with this scheme. I'm going to put these fake cameras in the bus, and we're going to use the bus to deter the crime and the prostitution and the heroin use that's going on in our little parking lot. So I'm kind of excited and stoked. Holy cow, I thought this was going to be a problem, but it looks like it's going to end up being a community thing that's going to try to help everybody. I mean, you can get those fake cameras that are battery operated that you can put in your window that blink, that make it anyway. So that's what I thought I would do, is make them think that the parking lot was being surveilled, and have a place to park the bus without having trouble, because, you know, surely the apartment managers, I mean, the community managers, it was an HOA. It wasn't an apartment. It was an HOA. And I was renting from an owner. It wasn't like it was an apartment complex. And so I thought certainly the HOA is going to be happy to have the bus there to curtail the drugs and crime that happens in this parking lot, right? Wrong. Wrong. I called them being nice on Monday or Tuesday and said, hi, I just want to let you know I'm parking my bus in that parking lot. I'm a resident. I've lived here for a long time. And she interrupted me. I saw your bus yesterday in person. It cannot stay there. You must leave. Oh, really? Now she kind of pissed me off, because she cut me off, and she was a rude bitch about it. And I'm not medicated. I haven't been medicated since 2006. So that was a wrong answer, honey. That was the wrong answer. I said, really? I said, you don't even want to entertain the possibility that we could turn the bus into a crime and drug deterrent for the area? You need to move that bus. I'm telling you, if it's not moved, I'm going to have it towed. And I was like, really? So you don't want to deter drugs in this neighborhood? Are you getting a cut from the dealers? Oh my God, that really set her off. That really set her off. So I hung up and went and moved the bus. Actually, I waited until the middle of the night and moved the bus onto the street, because I didn't like driving the bus with in you know, and there might be a chance where I would have to run into a car, see another vehicle on the road. I didn't want to see vehicles on the road. So in the middle of the night, I had to move the bus onto the street. So I started doing the conversion on the street. And they didn't like that either. And I had a generator that I put in the back of the bus. And oh, it was really, oh my God, it was awful, because I put the generator in the back of the truck and would run an extension cord into the bus to because only half the seats were gone. And I backed the pickup up to the back of the bus and opened the door of the bus and, set up the generator. And then I go to close the door of the bus to do something. And when I closed the door of the bus, where we painted the hinges, like when you paint hinges, they get kind of stuck, right? And so I opened it and it opened. But when I went to close it, the hinge lifted right. It was so rusted that the hinge lifted right up off the back of the bus. And there was a hole. So the door was falling off the fucking back of the bus. This is one other thing my brother did for me. He made me a metal thing that would allow me to lock the back door so people couldn't get in. And that turned out to be really fucking useful. Okay. But But he told me how to fix that door, but he didn't help me at fucking all. Like, not even a little bit. Well, he did. He used my angle grinder and cut me a piece of sheet metal to fit over one of the holes. But I had to go buy hinges, and I had to move the hinge to different places on the door and then attach it different places on. You know how fucking hard it is to hang a door? Any of you ever hung a door? Hanging a door is hard. On hinges by yourself, it's fucking hard. You know what's harder? Hanging a heavy bus door on hinges, okay? When you're having to screw through all this fucking steel. So, but he did end up helping me when it came to putting the bolts through the door because I needed a nut. So I screwed the holes, all the holes through that I needed, and he held a pair of pliers inside on the bolt so I could put the bolts through after I screwed the holes. So I had to rehang the door. That's the first construction, and patch all the holes with Bondo. I got the door hung by myself and patched the holes with Bondo by myself. That's the first repair I did to the bus. I started getting a little stressed out. But then my brother left, and I worked every single weekend. The only dog I had was Gonzo. I didn't have Winston. Gonzo was a puppy. He was, I'm going to say, he was 9 months old, almost 9 months old when I got the bus. So he was still a puppy. So I would leave him at home in his crate, and I would work on the bus. He was terrified of the bus. I want to tell you, I finished taking all those seats out by myself, and then I tore up all the floor by myself. I removed the heater by myself. I tearing up that floor was so hard. Then I sanded the floor by myself. When I tore the floor up, there were so many parts of it that were so rotten. So I took sheet metal out of the back of my seats. That's another thing my brother did for me. He told me to save some of my seats because all the seats have sheet metal in them. And I could cut them out with my angle grinder and use the sheet metal to patch rust. So that's what I did. I used my angle grinder to cut the backs out of the seats, and then I used that metal to patch the big fucking holes around every damn wheel well in this bus. This bus was so full of rust, it just wasn't even funny. When I got the floor up, I almost threw up because you could see the ground through the rust. It was really bad. My brother ended up saying, "Good luck with that rust bucket. I told you not to buy a bus from West Virginia." I just... asshole. Anyway, I pulled there's like on the floor of a bus, not on Southern buses, but on Yankee buses, any bus from the north, it's all got a 3/4 inch plywood on the floor. And then on top of that is rubber. So I had to pull up all the plywood, and then I had to clean all the rust, and then use rust converter, and then use sheet metal to patch it. And I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I can't weld. I use Tech screws. I screwed the sheet metal in with Tech screws and just ran the sheet metal out into strong steel. And then I bought this stuff called Bondo hair, and I slathered that shit everywhere. I bet I went through 10 cans of Bondo hair. And what I discovered is that you can't screw through Bondo hair. So when I went to put my plywood in, there's a couple of places where I can't get a screw to go in. And there's a screw stuck sticking out that you could trip over. But I left it there because I think it's anyway, it was so hard fixing all of that rust. And I made a big mistake, and I think that's why I'm having so much trouble with my lungs now, is I didn't wear a mask, and I took an angle grinder and attached a wire wheel to my angle grinder and used it to take all of the rust off of the floor on the inside without wearing a mask the first day. I didn't realize how bad it was. When I got home, my face was covered with this rusty soot, and my nose was completely full with rust particles. I just got approved today by the doctor to go get my lungs scanned. Um, but I think I fucked my lungs up doing that pretty bad. I had to have. All that rust went into my fucking lungs. What a moron I am. So anyway, I started wearing a mask after that. But I think it had to be too late because, I mean, my nose was fucking caked with rust. It was disgusting. I was like, what the hell did I do? How could I be so stupid? It took like a week to get all the rust out of my nose. Horrible thing to do. Anyway, but I got it all up and I got the floor painted. And then I started taking the inside layers down, the panels down. And I realized that that was a lot of fucking work. And so I put all the panels back up again. I painted a few of them. I took 2 or 3 of the windows out in the back and resealed them. And then I realized that that shit was a lot of work. So I stopped doing that. I paid somebody $10 an hour to come over and spend 8 hours peeling masking tape off the fucking bus, a little tiny bit at a time, because we put masking tape on before we painted so that we could do the trim and shit. And I left it on too long, and when you tried to take it off, it was just like not coming on, and it looked like shit all around the bus. So I paid somebody to work for 8 hours, $10 an hour, pulling masking tape off the bus, and didn't even make a dent in the fucking masking tape. And then eventually I realized that all you needed was a heat gun, and that stuff would come right off. Hi, Shalisha. We're doing story time. So there was a lot of stuff like that. But then meanwhile, while I'm doing all of that converting and stuff and working, every time I go over to work on the bus on the weekend, and I'm running, see, because I would back my pickup up to the back door of the bus, and I would open the back door of the bus, and I had a generator in the bed of my pickup, and I would, so I would just run the generator, and then I could use all my power tools inside the bus without making myself sick from the exhaust of the generator. So I had a generator in the bed of my pickup. I had a big 4-wheel drive pickup backed up to the back of the bus, and the generator running. Then I had my music blasting, and then I'm using shit like angle grinders. I mean, like hours of because I had to cut all those seats out, and then I had, so it was like people would call the police and say, now I told you, some of you might not have been here for last story time, but I told you that I timed it and everything just right so that when I got to pick up the bus from the school, I already had it converted to, the title converted to an RV, and the tag said RV. So they reported me to the police for having a commercial vehicle parked on that road. Evidently, it was illegal to park a commercial vehicle. I don't know what the fuck they called the semis and the box trucks that parked on that road, but I was automatically a commercial vehicle. So the first time the cops came, they were like, we got a complaint that, this is a commercial vehicle. And I said, no, it's not a commercial vehicle. I said, it's an RV. I'm converting it to an RV. And they said, okay. Okay. Well, you have a nice day. You got your tags and everything. Okay, good. You go on. So then the next time I'm working, they come again and they tell me the same thing, and I said, no, it's an RV. Here's the title. Oh, you're right. I said, and she calls. They call whoever it is. They call every single time I'm here working. Well, this looks like it's working into harassment. Thanks a lot. Okay, you're not breaking any laws. You have a nice day, ma'am. I wouldn't leave your fucking purse in the driver's seat with the door open because somebody's going to walk away with it. Oh, thank you very much. That's a good idea. I forgot. This is really not the nice neighborhood I thought it was. Look at all the shit in the parking lot over there. So, they just kept, they kept on, and then they took up, so then actually, The next thing they did, yeah, they kept trying and they kept getting in trouble. So they had to stop calling the police on me. So the next thing they did was start taking up a petition. They changed the parking signs to say that you couldn't park within 15 feet of a corner. And so I moved the bus. In the middle of the night, I moved the bus. And so they screwed a lot of other people that had been parking there for a long time out of parking place because my bus took up a lot of space. So that didn't deter me. I kept working on the bus and they kept complaining. The next thing they did was took up a petition to all the homeowners. They went to the county. The county told them that they would have to change the laws. It was a county road and there wasn't shit they could do about it. So they took up a petition to make the entire road no parking just to get rid of my bus. And it passed. So I ended up having to move out of that parking lot. But you can go to my YouTube page. I made a video about that parking lot and it's still getting views, warning people that that development is not what that seems to be. And so people who are searching for a place to live in that area get to read my review and find out that the parking lots are just drug havens. And I left it up there. And I did move. I ended up having to move. I had to move. I rented a farmhouse and I moved the bus. I used the bus to move. It was the greatest thing. Like I filled the bus full of all the shit that was in my living room. My living room, don't forget at the time, I ordered everything I needed to convert the bus before I got the bus. So I had an RV refrigerator, I had water storage tanks, I had a welder, I had all these tools, I had my sinks, I had my bathtub, I had, all of this shit in my living room because I wanted those receipts to go with me to the DMV so I could get it converted to an RV without any argument. And so I ended up having to I moved to this farmhouse. I found this farmhouse that was cheaper than the townhouse. I thought, oh my God, this is great. The farmhouse, yay, yay. So I moved to the farmhouse and it was on 185 acres. It was an old 1950 farmhouse on 185 acres. I could not see a neighbor. I was so fucking happy. I could hear the neighbors once in a while when they were fighting, but I could not see the neighbors. It was heaven. There was an old barn on the property. There was an old burned down house from the 1800s, and it was the about 50 of the acres were plowed farmland that the landlord had rented out to farmers in the area. So 50 of the acres were plowed farmland. The barn was, just you could do whatever I wanted. The rest of it was woods. I had about 5 acres. My yard was about an acre. And then there was about 5 acres around me that I could do whatever I wanted with. Whatever I wanted with. It was great. I put a fence in for the dogs. Actually, I didn't think I was going to need to put a fence in because I thought, you'd think that 185 acres was plenty for them to have fun on. But no, 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 no. They would like take off after deer, stay gone a week, and I'd find them 10 miles away. And the animal control was not happy with me. It got really bad. So after I moved into the farmhouse, I really couldn't do too much work on the bus. I really didn't, I didn't do too much work on the bus. I went out and started it every once in a while, but oh, I forgot to tell you. Right before I moved to the farmhouse, like in November, I moved to the farmhouse I got the bus in August. In November, um, Gonzo had gotten too big to play with any of the other dogs in the neighborhood. All the dogs used to come to the field beside my house to play. And Gonzo had gotten too big. They really didn't want him playing with their dogs. They were afraid of the vet bills. So I contacted the people I got Gonzo from, and I asked them if they had, I said, I know you're not going to have any more puppies because they weren't a puppy mill. I said, no, you're not going to have any more puppies, but Gonzo needs a playmate. that's big enough to play with him. I need another dog for him to play with because everybody's afraid. And they said, I'm so happy that you called because one of his brothers needs a home. The people who took his brother um, can't keep him. They've got a new baby coming, and he turns out he's just too much to handle. And so I said, yes, I'll come get him this weekend. And I went and picked up. At the time, he was just 100 pounds. Gonzo was 80 pounds, and Winston was 100 pounds. I went and picked up this 100-pound bull mastiff puppy. And so I had two mastiff puppies. When of course I stopped working on the bus. I started having to manage these damn puppies, and I loved them to death, but oh my god, they were a full-time job. I would come home and they would have torn all the furniture, all the carpet down from all three flights of stairs in my house. The carpet would be in the middle of the living room, and there would be almost a hole in the wall where they tried to scratch through the wall. Evidently, that house had a rodent problem, and they could hear it in the walls because they were trying to get into the walls to get whatever was in there. And oh my god, it was horrible. I would come home and the couch would be on its upside down and on the other side of the room. The crates would be in pieces. I mean, it was a full-time job taking care of these dogs, but I was committed. So I moved them to the farmhouse. The farmhouse was good for them too. It was good for me. It was good for the bus. It was good for everybody. But 185 acres wasn't enough for them to be happy on. They would take off. So I had to put a fence, and that was as a distraction. So it ended up that the bus kept getting put on the back burner, and I started getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Um, the dogs were stressful. My job was stressful. The fact that I just had lost my relationship with my daughter and my granddaughter. The fact that I learned, I can't go into details about it, but some of the truths of my daughters that I had learned were really, really, really hard to take. I mean, it was just a horrible time for me. And the farmhouse ended up being a full-time job, keeping up with, as it turns out, the farmhouse didn't really have heat. It had a fireplace, and it had a basement door that wouldn't stay closed because the house was so settled. And so when it got cold, in Maryland, it gets really fucking cold, and it stays cold for a long time. Maryland is a cold state. And so it was really cold in the house, and I had to haul wood in for the fireplace, and the fireplace wasn't really enough to keep the house warm. The kitchen got so cold that the refrigerator wouldn't work. And the first 6 weeks I lived there, it had baseboard heat, electric baseboard heat. And I remember that back in the 80s, my ex-husband and I had an apartment that had electric baseboard heat, and it was just horribly expensive. And that was in the 80s. And that's exactly what it looked like, those really horribly inefficient electric baseboard heaters. But I turned them on for the first 6 weeks because it was a hard, cold freeze, snow on the ground, that kind of thing in Maryland. And I got my first electric bill, and it was $800. $800, my first fucking electric bill. I was like, it was for 45 days, but still, holy shit. So I couldn't use those baseboard heaters. Baseboard heaters weren't an option. So I was trying to keep it warm with the fire. It was just so stressful. And in the summertime, it was like he had written it into my lease that I was responsible for all the maintenance. So I was responsible for mowing about 10 acres of grass and keeping all of these shrubs trimmed. And a storm came, and it knocked a tree down, a big fucking Maryland-sized tree down across my driveway. And I called my landlord, and he said, yeah, good luck with that shit. I mean, I couldn't get out of my driveway because my pickup wouldn't grow under it. It was just suspended across the driveway. It was a big fucking tree. My landlord said, good luck with that. So, yeah. It ended up being a lot of work, and I got sicker and sicker, and the stress was horrible, and my job was just, there's a whole lot of things about my job that were just, it was just everything. So I actually got snowed in. There was a snowstorm, and when you guys don't know it because you've never seen me off meds, but when I'm off meds and I get stressed out, I am one crazy bitch. Okay. And I had been off meds since 2006, and I was a really crazy bitch. And the stress, and then there was a big blizzard and I got snowed in for like 8 days, stuck alone in the house with all the stress that I knew was going on and everything in my life. And I ended up quitting my job in the middle of that snowstorm without a plan. I just fucking quit my job. I decided I had enough and I quit my job. Every single time in my life that I have gone off medicine, it takes a while, but eventually my life falls apart. My life falls completely apart. I'm amazed that I held it together as long as I did that time, because the first time I had meds and went off of them, it took only a couple of years for my life to fall apart. But this time I had gone off of meds in 2000 and actually 2008, 2009 I went off meds. And I was off them through all of the trouble I had with my daughter in 2012. I got back on antidepressants. Actually, I didn't get back on until I just got here to Florida last spring. But I was off my meds and I was really crazy, and being shut in for the 10 days in the snowstorm and all the shit in my head, and nobody to talk to. I didn't really have any friends or anybody really to talk to. And so, yeah, I lost my shit and quit my job. My boss said, Teresa, this is so. I sent her the email, said I'm going to quit. And then I didn't go to work on Monday. She called me and she's like, where are you? And I was like, no, I told you. I sent you that email. I quit. Well, I thought you were going to give me notice. No, I'm not giving you notice. I quit. Teresa, this is so unprofessional. I was like, Emily, I don't know. I realized that I'm an engineer and I worked in a professional environment, but I don't know what I ever did to make you think I was a professional. I quit, Emily. Get over it. I quit. Um, and thankfully, I had the bus and I had all the stuff that I needed to convert it. And I had a 401k that I could cash out, and it took a horrible hit, but I needed help, and I couldn't get it for. There's a lot of reasons why I couldn't get it in Maryland at the time. I had gotten blackballed because I'm crazy. I'm not crazy, okay? I'm right. But my problem when I'm off medicine is that I'm unable. I have a difficult time expressing myself when I think that you should understand what the fuck I'm saying. And if I think that you're just giving me shit, when I think that you should know what I'm talking about, I'll rip your fucking head off. And I ended up, and actually, that's not even exactly what happened. Not only was I an argumentative patient, but my doctors wouldn't listen to me and didn't believe me. And so I ended up getting into an altercation with doctors where they blackballed me. Essentially, they just blackballed me. And I have a couple of different disorders that it's critical that I have medicine. They wouldn't write prescriptions. I went to several different doctors in the area, and everybody refused to treat me because they blackballed me. And there's going to be a whole story time about doctors and all of my experience with doctors where I'll go into detail about that but the reason why I wasn't on medicine is because the last psychiatrist who had treated me had lost his license because he decided he wanted to have sex with me. Um, and he ended up losing his license, but I also lost faith in psychiatry. Um, and, and because these doctors blackballed me. So I really didn't feel like I had any choice. Um, I quit my job and said, I'm going to go get help. I have to go get help, and I'm not going to be able to get help here. So I finished the conversion. I hired somebody to come help me build the cabinets, finished the conversion, and filed for disability and jumped into the bus. I didn't even know if I was going to get disability. I had $4,000 left when I left Maryland. Because it took me, I quit my job in January. And I didn't get the bus finished until October 1st. And even then, there was a lot of stuff not finished because, it's really hard to convert a school bus, and really stressful. So I moved into the bus. I had $4,000. I didn't know how it was going to work, but I didn't have a parachute. I felt like I was jumping off a cliff without a parachute. I had just quit a job where I was making $146,000 a year and had excellent benefits, but I knew my mind was gone. I knew I needed help, and I wasn't going to be able to get it in Maryland. And nobody at my job gave a shit. None of my doctors gave. I mean, it was really horrible. So I got on the road and went to family for help. Well, that didn't work out. But the conversion of the bus, I didn't mean to get into all that personal stuff. We were talking about schoolies, right? The conversion of the bus, I shouldn't have bought all that stuff in advance. That was a huge mistake because a lot of it I didn't end up using. And when I had to resell it, even though I couldn't return it because it took me a year and a half after I got the bus and all this stuff to even start looking at doing the conversion. So I couldn't return it, so I had to sell it, and I lost 50% of my money. I mean, I made horrible decisions during the conversion of my bus, but I think it ended up turning out really good, pretty good considering, and it enabled me to survive. If I had stayed in Maryland, I really honestly don't know what would have happened to me. Because I got out from under the stress of the job and the environment and the farm and everything else and just put myself and the dogs in the bus. It took me, I left in October. It took me a year. Wow. I did that actually pretty quick. Yeah, it took me a year to get approved for disability. The first time I applied, I got denied. But then right when I got denied, I had finally gotten to a place in Texas where I could get in to see a psychiatrist. And so I was in Denton. I made it to Denton, Texas, and I got in to see a psychiatrist. And I hired an attorney after the first denial. I got denied in March. I went on the road in October. I got denied for disability in March. And I got in to see a psychiatrist right before the denial came through. So after going in and talking to the mental health professionals in Denton, Texas, I talked to them for about an hour, and I just decided I'm going to go in and throw all of my shit at the wall and see what they say. And I went in and threw all of the details of what was going on with me and everything about my daughter and my grandson and all of that, and they said, "Oh, we're real glad you came. Yeah, we're going to help you. We're going to help you." And so they put me on medicine, which, as it turns out, it wasn't even the best medicine. And as it turns out, it wasn't the best psychiatrist for me either. But what they did was they helped me get disability. They agreed 100% that the trauma that I was undergoing and my mental health condition and all of that stuff, and it's really rare to get disability for extreme depression and severe bipolar, and PTSD, all the stuff that I have. It's really rare to get disability um, for that without having been hospitalized in a mental facility. Um, but I guess I was able to express myself in such a way they knew there's no way I had to have disability. I had to have disability or I was going to be dead. That was it. I could not work anymore. I had enough, and sometime I'll do story times about, the details about all the reasons why I have the PTSD and all of that stuff. But I got approved for my disability. The bus saved my life. If I didn't have the school bus, I would have. So I'm on disability right now. I'm not on SSI. I am on disability, so I'm just drawing what I've paid in. When that runs out, I'm going to be screwed. But I have a really decent income, and I just finally. It took me living in the bus, like I had to leave that psychiatrist And I needed to find a place to park permanently. I needed a place to park permanently where I could get medical attention and all of that. And it took me 2 more years. It took me a year to get on disability, and then it took me 2 years after that to find a place where I could settle down and get medical treatment. And that happened in February of 2020. And so you're looking at, like, the people who knew me the whole time I lived in the bus, the people from my school bus group, I'm a different person right now than I was in the school bus group. Everybody in that school bus group will tell you I was crazy. The whole time I was in charge of that group and running that group, oh my God, I was so mentally ill, but I was still able to manage the group because, managing the group was my survival tool. Having the group was how I survived. I'm tough and strong, and holy shit, I am brave. I mean, that's another thing that I just timed perfect. If I hadn't been approved for disability, there was no plan B. I would have been screwed. I'm so sorry, Becky. Well, if I hadn't gotten approved, I was going to be dead, and they knew it. And I probably would have taken my daughter with me. And I told them that too. I was, yeah. I was suicidal and homicidal. And my daughter was my target. I don't want to kill my daughter anymore. I just like to pummel her. I really would. My sister, too. I'd like to pummel my sister. Actually, I wouldn't like to pummel my daughter. I'd like to pummel my sister. I just like to have a relationship with my grandson and never speak to my daughter again. They helped me out in Texas. I ended up having to leave her treatment, but they really helped me out in Texas. And then I found this parking spot in Florida. The person I'm renting from right now was a member of my school bus group on Facebook, and I made a post and I said, I really need it. I'm not gonna make it. I need a place. I need a place, and he offered me the spot, and he lets me use the address so I get medical insurance and I can see doctors for the first time since I've been on disability. I've got an excellent psychiatrist. She has me on medicine that is so good. For the first time, I think for the first time in my life, I am truly balanced. And I know for the first time in 16 years, I am truly balanced. And it feels so good to be free. Being that sick with bipolar, it is miserable. It is just beyond miserable. Hello, Misty Walls. Nice to see you. Thank you, Ash. The help I needed, I'm a different person than when I was in the school bus group because I've got medicine. I was so sick. And I kept trying to tell people, and people just didn't get it. Anyway, I still have a long way to go. I feel like the medicine combination that I'm on right now is pretty good. But that's why the bus isn't finished. That's why only parts of it are done. I mean, because you can see how sick I was. That's why it didn't get finished. And now it's so overwhelming, everything that needs to be done with it. I just look at it and think, I just can't even begin. I don't know where to start. I just don't know what. I'm healthy now. I'm healthy-ish. I still have a little ways to go. Thank you, Mimi. I'm so glad you enjoyed the story. Does anybody have any questions? It's no joke. It's no joke. It's really not. It's miserable. It's miserable for everybody, and it's miserable for the sick one and the non-sick one. It's miserable for everybody. I'm so happy you got to come today, Mimi. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I really am. Yeah, bipolar sucks. And PTSD, severe PTSD. I have so much PTSD. It's insane. I get triggered and I'm done for a month. It depends on which trigger it is, but medicine makes it more tolerable. Oh, I love you guys too. All right, you guys. How about if we reconvene over on TikTok? Because this is almost an hour long. I like to keep it an hour, and that's the rest of the conversion story and how I ended up in a school bus. Although it's not all the details, I really want to wait to give the exact details. You have the same diagnoses? Maybe that's why, you know. Hugs to you, Norma. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have severe PTSD, um, bipolar. I'm not sure which bipolar. I mean, I don't have the kind of bipolar where you stay up for days and then you don't get out of bed for days. I have the bipolar where I'm really happy, then oh my God, I'm so angry or sad, or happy, then angry, then sad. I mean, and it can cycle like 3 times in a day. 3 times a day. It's just like you spend all your time fucking crying nonstop. All right, you guys, we can, you're so welcome. PTSD with childhood trauma. I have severe childhood trauma. I have starvation as a child, beatings as a child, abandonment as a child. Yeah, I'm much better now, but it's going to take a little bit longer. I'm still like really really scared. But I have one of my videos on YouTube is public of me in a really bad depressive episode. And I leave it public in case anybody's ever questioning whether or not I deserve to be on disability. And I leave it public so that people can see how far I've come and that it's real. It's no joke. It's fucking miserable. Anyways, you guys, I will talk to you later. I'll see you over on TikTok. And thanks for joining me.